How's it going, guys? My name is Johnny Arnett, and in this new Versus series,
we take a look at two greats of basketball history as we analyze their skills, achievements, and career totals, ending with a conclusion on who is the greater basketball player overall. Today, our matchup is Allen the Answer Iverson versus George the IceMan Gervin. One legend spent the majority of his career playing in the NBA in the late 90s and throughout the 2000s, while the other played in the ABA and NBA throughout the 70s and 80s. Starting with the basics, Iverson was a 6-foot point guard / shooting guard who weighed about 165 pounds. Gervin was a 6'7 shooting guard / small forward who weighed about 180 pounds. We'll compare these two greats with 5 major categories, which are scoring, playmaking, efficiency, defense, and accolades. First off, scoring. It's no secret that both of these legends are among the greatest scorers in NBA history. Iverson had a career scoring average of 26.7 points. He won 4 scoring titles, and his career high was 60 points against the Magic in 2005. Iverson also has the second greatest playoff scoring average in NBA history at 29.7 points, trailing only Michael Jordan. Gervin had a career scoring average of 25.1 points. He also won 4 scoring titles, and his career high was 63 points against the New Orleans Jazz in 1978, and his career playoff scoring average was 26.5. Iverson was a volume shooting assassin, and he spent the majority of his career carrying a 76ers offense with little offensive support. He had a smooth jump shot and was fearless when attacking the paint, accompanied with an all-time great layup package. Thanks to Iverson's brave and aggressive nature, he was always among the league leaders in free throw attempts, averaging significantly more attempts over his career than Gervin did. Iverson was also an elite scorer for a significant amount of time. He averaged at least 25 points per game in 10 straight seasons, which only him and 7 other players have ever accomplished. And unfortunately for Gervin, he wasn't all that close to being one of them. Now, the Iceman did the majority of his damage in the mid-range and around the painted area. He's famously known as the player who made the finger roll famous, and he was overall just incredibly talented at finishing around the rim. He was never much of a perimeter shooter, averaging less than 1 3-point attempt per game over the course of his career. Overall, when you look at consistent scoring and the variety of ways they could do it, the edge goes slightly to Allen Iverson. Second up is playmaking. This is another area where the answer stands out. As famous and well-known as he was as a scorer, he often doesn't get enough credit for his solid passing abilities and court vision. He managed to make solid passes and get a ton of assists considering the amount of shots he was taking per game. On Iverson's career, he shot 21.8 shots per game and averaged 6.2 assists per game. His 21.8 shots is the 4th highest shots per game average in NBA history. Of the top 10 players with the highest shots per game average of all time, only one player averaged more assists per game over their career than Allen Iverson, which was Jerry West. Among these players are legends like Michael Jordan, Pistol Pete Maravich, and Rick Barry, and Iverson averaged more assists per game than all of them. He did this with his vision, but he was also one of the greatest ball handlers of all time, and he's extremely quick, which often forced a second defender to help on Iverson, which naturally opened up his teammates for clean looks. Now, although Gervin's 6'7" frame was hard to defend, it's no secret that George often looked to make a play just for himself rather than his teammates as well. In the entirety of Gervin's career, he never once averaged at least 4 assists per game in a season. Facilitating certainly wasn't among his skill set. In Iverson's 14 years in the NBA, he never once averaged as few assists per game as Gervin did in his best season. With all of these things considered, playmaking clearly goes to Allen Iverson. Third up is efficiency, and although this has been an area where Allen Iverson has been criticized by some analytic-loving basketball fans, it's certainly not as bad as advertised. His career field goal percentage is 42.5%, but his true shooting percentage is very comparable to other greats like Russell Westbrook, Isaiah Thomas, and Carmelo Anthony. But on the other hand is Gervin, who wasn't just great at efficiently scoring, but he was one of the greatest ever in that criteria. An incredible fact about the Iceman is that other than LeBron James, he's the only wing player in NBA history to have a career average of over 25 points per game while shooting over 50% from the field for his career. Again, just LeBron and George Gervin. His best single season overall came in the 1979-1980 season, where he averaged 33.1 points per game while shooting 52.8% from the field. Other than Michael Jordan, no wing player in NBA history has ever averaged that many points while shooting above 50% for a season, let alone Gervin's 52.8%. Iverson was a decent 78% from the free throw line, but Gervin for his career shot an elite 84.1%. In this area of efficiency, the edge is strongly given to George Gervin. Next is defense, which is a bit of a complicated aspect for these two greats. In the case of Iverson, he was often undersized, guarding players significantly taller and heavier than him, but at one point, he actually led the NBA in steals per game for 3 consecutive seasons. With that being said, he never once made an all-defense team appearance, and in large part, that was because most people could recognize that he wasn't a great on-ball defender, which Iverson himself has admitted. But he was good at jumping the passing lanes, which can be risky and sometimes resulted in a defensive breakdown for his team and a basket for the opponent. Gervin wasn't known to be an elite on-ball defender either, as he also never made an all-defense team appearance. But at the very least, he could be a decent help defender, and he was a bit of an underrated shot blocker, which in large part had to do with his long wingspan and his terrific leaping ability. He averaged 1.2 blocks over his career, reaching as high as 1.8 during the 73-74 season, which is significantly higher than most wing players. With all of those aspects considered, I have to call this one a tie between both stars. Last on the list of categories is accolades, and both of these greats had plenty of them. Iverson for his career was the 2001 League MVP. He was a 4-time scoring champion, 3-time steals champion, he made 11 All-Star teams, 7 All-NBA teams, and made 1 trip to the NBA Finals. In his 14 seasons, he averaged 26.7 points, 6.2 assists, 3.7 rebounds, and 2.2 steals on 42.5% shooting. Gervin was a 4-time scoring champion. He made 12 All-Star teams, 7 All-NBA teams, and 2 All-ABA teams, but he never made it to the ABA or NBA Finals. For his career, he averaged 25.1 points, 5.3 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 1 block on 50.4% shooting. With all aspects considered, ultimately, it's close. Very close. But I have to say that Allen Iverson is just slightly ahead of Gervin as the greater overall player, and the major separating factor is how Iverson can impact the game in a number of ways with his skill set of playmaking and distributing to go along with the fact that he's one of the greatest scorers and especially playoff scorers the game has ever seen. So, who you got? Let me know in a comment who you think is the greater player, and who are some other players you would like to see square off in this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.